Hey everyone, Elizabeth here. The Last Laugh delivers stories that leave you speechless. If you're here for it, hit subscribe and let's go.
I'm Maya Chen, and for most of my 32 years, I've been the family disappointment. Not because I failed at anything. Because I succeeded at things my family couldn't understand or control. My sister Victoria is 35. She married Dr. Richard Morrison 7 years ago, right after he completed his cardiology fellowship. Richard is brilliant, compassionate, and comes from old money. He's everything my parents wanted in a son-in-law. Victoria made sure everyone knew it. My brother James is 33, married to an intellectual property attorney. He works in pharmaceutical sales and does well enough to maintain the lifestyle our parents expect. Then there's me, the one who wastes her potential. I started my first company at 23 right out of college. A medical imaging software platform that used AI to detect cardiac abnormalities earlier than traditional methods. My family called it playing with computers. My parents wanted me to go to medical school. When I said I was starting a company instead, my father didn't speak to me for 6 months. "You're throwing away a guaranteed future for a fantasy," Mom said. I built the company anyway. Quietly. Without their money, their connections, or their approval. By 26, I'd sold that company to a major medical technology corporation for $87 million. I didn't tell my family. They still thought I was trying to make my little tech thing work. I took that money and started investing. Medical technology companies, biotech startups, research institutions that needed funding but couldn't get traditional investors interested in their timeline. My parents still introduced me as our daughter who does something with computers. Victoria introduced me as my sister who never quite found her path. James told people I was still figuring things out. The truth was simpler and more complicated. I was building a portfolio worth over $2 billion, and I preferred anonymity to their conditional approval. 3 years ago, Richard's hospital, St. Catherine's Medical Center, faced a crisis. Their research funding had been cut. Their cardiac wing was outdated. They were months away from having to shut down entire departments. Richard came to a family dinner stressed and exhausted. He talked about patients they'd have to turn away, research that would be abandoned, lives that would be impacted. Victoria patted his hand sympathetically. "At least your salary is secure, darling." Mom nodded. "That's what matters. You can't save everyone." I said nothing. But I made a phone call the next morning. I created a shell corporation specifically for medical philanthropy. The donation was structured through multiple layers. Anonymous, untraceable to me personally, with only one condition. The funding would continue as long as the hospital met specific research and patient care benchmarks. $240 million. Paid out over 3 years in structured installments. St. Catherine's Cardiac Research Wing was renovated. Their equipment upgraded. Their research programs expanded. Richard's department became one of the most respected in the country. Victoria took credit for supporting her husband through the transition. She posted on social media about the power of perseverance and standing by your partner. She had no idea I was the one who made it all possible. My family's dismissal continued. At James's promotion dinner last year, Victoria announced her pregnancy. Everyone celebrated. Mom cried happy tears. Dad ordered champagne. "Maya, when are you going to settle down?" Mom asked. "You're 31. Still living in that small apartment working on your computer projects." "I'm happy," I said. Victoria laughed. "Happiness doesn't pay bills, sweetie. Richard and I are looking at houses in Westchester. 5 bedrooms. His salary can handle it." I lived in a small apartment in Tribeca that I'd purchased for cash. $4 million. But it was easier to let them believe what they wanted. "You should really think about stability," James added. "Rachel and I can introduce you to some people at her firm. Maybe you could do their IT support." "I'm good," I said. Dad sighed. "We worry about you, Maya. You're so intelligent, but you're wasting it on these hobbies." I wasn't wasting anything. I was just investing in things they couldn't see on a business card. Last month, Richard came to Sunday dinner excited. "The hospital is hosting a major gala," he said, celebrating the research wing expansion. "The anonymous donor is supposed to make an appearance. Finally. We've been trying to identify them for 3 years." "How exciting." Victoria beamed. Richard, you'll finally meet the person who saved your career. Our benefactor, Richard corrected gently. They saved a lot more than my career. They saved countless patient lives. Victoria waved her hand. Same thing, darling. 2 weeks later, the baby shower invitation arrived. Cream-colored cardstock, elegant calligraphy, Victoria's registry at stores I recognized as deliberately expensive. At the bottom, in smaller print, sophisticated celebration. Perhaps it's best you decline. I stared at those words for a long time. My phone buzzed. James. Hey, about Victoria's shower. She's keeping it pretty exclusive. Richard's colleagues, mom and dad's friends. She thinks you might feel out of place. No offense. None taken, I said. Another text. Victoria this time. Maya, the shower is very upscale. Designer outfits. Important people from Richard's hospital. I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. It's probably better if you skip it. Then a final text from mom. Victoria's right, sweetie. It's a medical community event. You wouldn't know anyone there. Why don't you and I have lunch that day instead? Just us. I replied to none of them. But I did make a phone call to Dr. Harrison, the hospital director. Miss Chin, he said warmly. To what do I owe this pleasure? I need to adjust the funding terms, I said. I'll be attending Victoria Morrison's baby shower this Saturday. I'd like to make the announcement about the donation there. In person. Full disclosure. There was a pause. Are you certain? You've maintained anonymity for 3 years. I'm certain, I said. It's time. Does Mrs. Morrison know you're the donor? No, I said. And I'd prefer it stays that way until Saturday. Of course, Dr. Harrison said. I'll prepare accordingly. Saturday arrived. I dressed carefully. Not in designer labels that would make Victoria feel validated in excluding me. But not in the computer programmer casual they expected either. I wore a simple black dress. Elegant, expensive, understated. Pearl earrings. Hair styled professionally. I looked successful without being flashy. I arrived at the venue, an upscale restaurant in Manhattan with a private event space, 30 minutes after the shower started. The hostess looked uncertain. Name. Wyattchin. I'm Victoria Morrison's sister. He checked her list. Frowned. I don't see you on the guest list. I know, I said calmly. But I'm here anyway. She hesitated, then stepped aside. The event is on the 2nd floor. I walked upstairs. The room was beautiful. White and gold decorations. Elaborate floral arrangements. About 50 women in designer dresses, sipping champagne and eating delicate pastries. Victoria stood in the center, radiant in a cream-colored maternity dress, holding court. Mom was beside her, laughing with several older women. James's wife Rachel was there, chatting with a group near the windows. I stood in the doorway for a moment, unnoticed. Then Victoria saw me. Her smile froze. She crossed the room quickly, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. Wyatt, what are you doing here? I'm your sister, I said quietly. I wanted to celebrate your baby. I sent you a very clear message, Victoria said, her voice low. This isn't the place for you. Why not? Because, she glanced around, making sure no one was listening. Because everyone here is from Richard's world. Important people. I can't have you here in your thrift store clothes talking about your computer projects. It reflects badly on us. This dress cost $4,000, I said calmly. But I appreciate your concern. Victoria's face reddened. Don't make this difficult. Please just leave quietly. Mom will have lunch with you next week. I'm staying, I said. Why? I brought a gift, I said, holding up a small wrapped box. May I at least give you that? Victoria sighed, took the box and turned away without opening it. She handed it to Rachel. Put this with the others. And keep an eye on her. Make sure she doesn't embarrass us. I walked to the gift table, picked up a glass of sparkling water and stood near the back of the room. Several women glanced at me curiously. I recognized a few faces. Doctors' wives from Richard's hospital, women from the social circuit my parents frequented. One approached me. Are you a friend of Victoria's? Her sister, I said. Oh. The woman's smile was polite but confused. I didn't realize she had a sister. Surprise, I said gently. The woman drifted away. Mom appeared at my elbow. Maya, honey, you need to leave. Victoria is upset. I'm not causing a scene, I said. I'm standing here quietly. You're making everyone uncomfortable, Mom hissed. You don't belong here. Why not? Because, Mom struggled for words. Because this is Victoria's day. Her moment. You being here takes attention away from her. I'm literally standing in a corner saying nothing to anyone. Your presence is the problem, Mom said. Please. For once, just do what's best for the family. I looked at her. Really looked at her. Saw the embarrassment in her eyes. The same embarrassment I'd seen my whole life when I didn't fit their narrative. Okay, I said quietly. Mom's face relaxed with relief. I'll stay another 10 minutes, I continued. Then I'll decide. Maya. But I walked away, moving to stand near the windows overlooking the street. Victoria was opening gifts. Each present brought squeals of delight. Designer baby clothes. Luxury strollers. Elaborate nursery items. She opened my gift last. The small box contained a simple silver baby rattle from Tiffany. Nothing extravagant. Nothing that would outshine the other gifts. How sweet, Victoria said with the tone of someone who finds something decidedly not sweet. Thank you, Maya. Polite applause. Then back to the more exciting gifts. Richard arrived then, still in his white coat from the hospital. Sorry I'm late, he said, kissing Victoria's cheek. Emergency consult ran long. Everyone welcomed him warmly. He was the beloved guest of honor, the dedicated doctor, the perfect husband. He saw me and smiled with genuine warmth. Maya, I didn't know you'd be here. It's great to see you. You too, Richard, I said. Victoria touched his arm. She was just leaving, actually. Richard frowned slightly but didn't argue. That's when Dr. Harrison arrived. He walked into the room with purpose. A tall man in his early 60s with silver hair and the bearing of someone used to authority. Two people accompanied him. A woman with a tablet and a man carrying a camera. The room fell silent. Dr. Morrison, Dr. Harrison said, shaking Richard's hand. Congratulations on the baby. And Mrs. Morrison, you look radiant. Victoria beamed. Dr. Harrison, thank you so much for coming. Richard said you might stop by. I wouldn't miss it, Dr. Harrison said. But I'm actually here for something specific. He looked around the room. Is Maya Chin here? Every head turned. I raised my hand slightly. I'm here. Dr. Harrison smiled and crossed the room to me. Miss Chin, thank you for finally agreeing to meet in person. The room was completely silent now. Victoria's face showed confusion. You know my sister? Yo her. Dr. Harrison laughed. Mrs. Morrison, your sister is the reason St. Catherine's Cardiac Research Wing exists. She's the reason your husband has been able to conduct his groundbreaking research. She's the anonymous donor who's contributed $240 million to our hospital over the past 3 years. The silence was absolute. Victoria's face went pale. What? Miss Chin created a medical philanthropy foundation, Dr. Harrison continued. She's funded cardiac research programs at 17 hospitals nationwide. St. Catherine's has been her largest single investment. The wing we're dedicating next month? That's because of her. Richard stood frozen, his face cycling through shock, confusion, and something that looked like horror. I'm here today, Dr. Harrison said, because Miss Chin has requested that we formalize the donation structure going forward. She wants to establish an endowment that will continue funding cardiac research in perpetuity. He turned to me. The paperwork is ready whenever you'd like to review it. Maya. Mom's voice was barely a whisper. Is this true? I looked at her. To Victoria. At James, who'd appeared in the doorway with his mouth open. At all the women who'd treated me like an embarrassing relative who'd crashed an exclusive party. Yes, I said simply. Victoria found her voice. You're the anonymous donor? I am. But you, she struggled. You work with computers. You live in that tiny apartment. You drive a 10-year-old Honda, I finished. Yes. I also own 12 companies, sit on the boards of 6 medical technology firms, and have a portfolio worth approximately $2.3 billion. The apartment is in Tribeca and cost $4 million. I own it outright. I keep the Honda because it's reliable and I don't care what people think about my car. The room was so quiet I could hear someone's phone buzzing in a purse across the room. Richard spoke, his voice shaking. Why? The research we've been doing. The patients we've saved. That was all. That was all you. You did the work, I said gently. I just made sure you had the resources to do it. Why didn't you tell us? He asked. Because I wanted to help without changing the dynamic, I said. I wanted the research to succeed on its own merits. Not because anyone felt obligated to a donor. Victoria made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. You've been funding Richard's career this whole time and you never said anything? Your husband is brilliant, I said. He doesn't need anyone funding his career. He needed resources to do his work. I provided them. Anonymously. The way all my philanthropic work is done. Dr. Harrison nodded. Ms. Chen's foundation operates completely behind the scenes. She's transformed medical research funding across the country, and almost no one knows her name. We've been trying to properly thank her for 3 years. I don't need thanks, I said. I need results. Better patient outcomes. Advanced research. That's what matters. Mom sat down heavily in a chair. Her face had gone white. James stepped into the room. Maya, I don't understand. If you have all this money, why do you live like what? I asked. Like someone who doesn't need to prove anything to anyone? I live comfortably, James. I just don't need a McMansion in Westchester to feel successful. Victoria's hands were shaking. All those times. All those comments about getting a real job. About wasting your potential. You just let us say those things. What would you have had me do? I asked quietly. Announce at every family dinner that I'm worth billions? Flash my bank statements? That's not who I am. But Victoria's voice broke. We treated you like you were nobody. You treated me like I was disappointing, I corrected. There's a difference. And I wasn't going to change who I am or how I operate to win approval I don't need. Rachel, James's wife, spoke up. The times I offered to get you an IT support job. Oh my God. Maya, I'm so... You meant well, I said. Everyone meant well. You all just couldn't imagine success that didn't look like what you understood. Dr. Harrison checked his watch. Miss Chen, when you're ready, I have the endowment paperwork in my car. We can finalize the structure for the ongoing funding. Give me a few minutes, I said. He nodded and stepped out, his associates following. The room remained silent. 50 women who'd been celebrating Victoria's baby shower, now processing the revelation that the dismissed sister they'd barely noticed was one of the most significant medical philanthropists in the country. Victoria sank into a chair. I uninvited you. I told you that you weren't sophisticated enough for my baby shower. I know, I said. I'm such an idiot. You're not an idiot, I said. You just made assumptions. Everyone does. Richard moved toward me, his eyes red. Maya, the work we've done. The lives we've saved. I need you to understand what your funding has meant. I do understand, I said. That's why I did it. I've been so proud, he continued, his voice thick with emotion. Proud of what we've accomplished. And the whole time it was because of you. Because you believed in the work. I believed in you, I said. Both of you. Richard, you're an extraordinary doctor. Victoria, you've supported him through every long night and every difficult case. You both deserve success. I just made sure you had the tools to achieve it. Victoria started crying. I'm pregnant and emotional and I just found out I'm the worst sister in the world. You're not the worst sister, I said, but I didn't move to comfort her. That wasn't our relationship. It never had been. Mom stood up slowly. Maya, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, I replied. All those times I told you to get a real job. To stop wasting your time. Your father and we were so worried about you. I know. But you were fine. Better than fine. You were. Mom shook her head. You were changing the world and we were treating you like a failure. You were treating me like someone who didn't fit your definition of success, I said. That's different. Dad appeared in the doorway then, having come late from a golf game. He took in the scene. The crying women, the shocked faces, Dr. Harrison visible through the window waiting by his car. What did I miss? He asked. James laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. Maya's a billionaire who's been anonymously funding Richard's hospital for 3 years, and we've all been treating her like she's unemployed. Dad blinked. What? It's true, Victoria said, wiping her eyes. All of it. Dad looked at me. Really looked at me, maybe for the first time in years. Maya, he said. Hi, Dad, I said. He opened his mouth. Closed it. Tried again. You're a billionaire? Approximately, I said. The market fluctuates. And you fund hospitals? 17 of them. Plus 12 research universities, 6 cancer treatment centers, and a network of community health clinics in underserved areas. Dad sat down next to Mom. They looked at each other, then back at me like they were seeing a stranger. Why didn't you tell us? Dad asked finally. Would it have mattered? I asked. Would you have respected my choices more if you'd known I was rich? Because that's not respect. That's just being impressed by money. That's not fair, Mom said. Isn't it? I asked gently. Every family dinner, every holiday, every gathering, you introduced me as the daughter who was still figuring things out. You apologized for me. You tried to fix me. Would that have changed if you'd known about the money? Mom didn't answer. I didn't want to be valued for my bank balance, I said. I wanted to be valued for who I am. But that wasn't something you were interested in. Victoria wiped her eyes. I told you not to come today. I said you weren't sophisticated enough. I know. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I appreciate that, I said. But sorry doesn't change what happened. It doesn't change years of dismissal and condescension. What do we do? James asked. How do we fix this? I looked at my brother. You don't fix it. You can't fix years of family dynamics with one apology. What you can do is recognize that people are more than what you see on the surface. That success looks different for different people. That respect shouldn't be conditional on understanding someone's bank account. Are you? Victoria's voice shook. Are you going to cut off the hospital funding? Because of how we treated you. I felt a flash of anger at that. Even now, even after everything, her first concern was what my money could do for her. No, I said firmly. The hospital funding has nothing to do with you or our family. It's for the patients. For the research. For the lives that can be saved. Richard and his colleagues do extraordinary work. I'm not going to penalize sick people because my family couldn't see past their own assumptions. Richard's relief was visible. Thank you, he breathed. But, I continued, I think I need some distance from family gatherings for a while. Maya, no, Mom said. Please don't. I need space, I said. I need to decide what kind of relationship I want with all of you. If I want one at all. The words hung in the air like a physical weight. You'd really cut us off? Dad asked. You cut me off first, I said quietly. Every time you dismissed my work. Every time you compared me unfavorably to Victoria or James. Every time you acted like I was an embarrassment. You cut me off from being part of this family on equal terms. I'm just finally accepting what you've been telling me all along. Victoria made a sound like a wounded animal. I picked up my purse. I'm going to go finalize the hospital paperwork with Dr. Harrison. Victoria, I hope your baby is healthy and brings you joy. Richard, keep doing the extraordinary work you're doing. Everyone else, I looked around the room. Enjoy the rest of the party. I walked toward the door. Maya, wait, Mom said, standing. Please. Don't leave like this. I turned back. How should I leave? With empty promises that everything's fine? With acceptance of apologies that don't come with understanding? I've spent 32 years being the disappointment. I'm done. You were never a disappointment, Dad said, but his voice lacked conviction. Yes, I was, I said. I disappointed you because I didn't become a doctor. I disappointed Mom because I didn't marry someone from the country club. I disappointed Victoria because I didn't care about designer labels and social status. I disappointed James because I didn't fit into his corporate world. I've been a disappointment by every measure that mattered to this family. That's not true, Victoria said, but she was crying again. It is true, I said. And that's okay. I've built an extraordinary life despite your disappointment. Or maybe because of it. I learned to value things that matter. Impact over image, substance over status. You taught me what I didn't want to be. I should probably thank you for that. I walked out before anyone could respond. Dr. Harrison was waiting by his car. Ready to finalize the paperwork? Yes, I said. Let's secure the funding for the next 50 years. Create something that outlasts all of us. That's quite a legacy, he said. That's the point, I said. We spent an hour in his office reviewing documents, structuring the endowment, ensuring the funding would continue regardless of what happened with my family or my business ventures. When I signed the final document, Dr. Harrison smiled. On behalf of St. Catherine's and on behalf of every patient whose life will be saved because of this funding, thank you. Thank you for doing the work that matters, I said. My phone buzzed constantly as I drove home. Texts from Victoria, Mom, James, even Rachel. Apologies, explanations, please to reconsider. I turned off my phone. In the weeks that followed, the pattern continued. Phone calls I didn't answer. Emails I didn't read. Invitations I declined. Victoria sent a heartfelt letter. Mom showed up at my building 3 times before I finally agreed to coffee. I need you to understand, Mom said, her hands wrapped around a latte she wasn't drinking. We didn't know. That's the problem, I said. You should have respected me whether you knew or not. You're right, she said quietly. You're absolutely right. I don't need your approval, I said. I never did. But I wanted it anyway. That's what made it hurt. What can we do? Mom asked. How do we make this right? I don't know if you can, I said honestly. I need time. Space. I need to figure out if I want to rebuild something with all of you or if it's healthier to just let it go. Mom started crying. You're my daughter. I love you. I know, I said. But love and respect aren't the same thing. And I need both. 3 months later, Victoria gave birth to a healthy baby girl. She named her Maya Grace Morrison. She called to tell me, her voice tentative. I hope that's okay. That we used your name. It's your daughter, I said. Name her whatever feels right. I want her to know her aunt, Victoria said. I want her to grow up understanding that success isn't about what people see on the surface. That kindness and impact matter more than status. Those are good lessons, I said. Will you meet her? Victoria asked. When you're ready. No pressure. No family gathering. Just you and her. I thought about it. About this tiny person who carried my name. About the aunt I could be versus the family member I'd been forced to be. Maybe, I said. Someday. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't reconciliation. But it was possibility. And for now that was enough. I continued my work. Expanded the Medical Philanthropy Foundation. Invested in 3 new research hospitals. Launched a program funding women entrepreneurs in medical technology. I built the life I wanted. Not the life my family expected. Not the life that would make me fit their narrative. Just mine. And that, finally, was more than enough. 4 months after the baby shower, I received an invitation to the dedication ceremony for the St. Catherine's Research Wing. My name wouldn't be on the building. I'd insisted on that. But I'd be there quietly watching the work I'd funded save lives for generations to come. That was the legacy that mattered. Not the family that finally saw my value, but the values I'd held on to when they couldn't see me at all.